There are three important questions surrounding the night. Who are they? What is their goal? Why is Kris helping them? The who question, of course, has been discussed to the point of insanity, but for this theory, we'll have to start with the other two. Well, they follow the prophecy, I think. Chapter 4 makes it pretty obvious they've seen and know the prophecy, and despite that, they seem to actively follow it, making no attempt to defy the prophecy. Why though? I mean, the obvious answer would be to save the world, since that is the ending of the prophecy after all. But then why not work with a fun gang? Or, if they're forced to play the role of villain, why be so violent in general? I mean, they spawned a Titan, which even Ralsei didn't seem to be ready for, which means it wasn't even part of the prophecy. It's not impossible to say their goal is to save the world, but their actions indicate there's more for them to gain. Well, maybe it has something to do with defying the prophecy, which would be fitting for the punk's sister Des, who is an extremely popular candidate for the night. But if they know all their fighting just ends in losing anyway, then surely they would try something besides violence. The only motive left really is what happens before the world is saved. The prophecy panel, everyone seems to know but us. The terrible thing that needs to happen. Why would they want that? And that's when something clicked for me personally. Because whoever your candidate for the night is, it's pretty hard to deny the antlers. It has to be a holiday member, in some form at least. And we also know that Noelle is likely related to the prophecy, be it the angel imagery, her usefulness in the weird route, or... For this next part of the theory, we'll assume the girl isn't Susie but Noelle. After all, Noelle can wield swords, but not Susie. She's a better candidate for someone who's recently fallen in love. And assuming love and the heart icon are more sinister soul imagery, the weird route does make her out to be a vessel, or at least some kind of pawn of the soul. Noelle, as previously mentioned, is also related to angel imagery, including her doll she made, which could be related to the term weather doll, a name taken on by the Steam account that writes the hotfixes for deltarune. Besides it having the initials WD and the account's previous name being G, it's also the name of a Japanese charm, which is used as a vessel to prevent rain, is often washed away in rivers, and originally represented the story of a girl who was sacrificed by ascending symbolically to the heavens to sweep rain clouds from the sky. Do you see where I'm going with this? The tragedy required to save the world is Noelle's death. The crucifixion and the thorn ring, the story of the weather doll, so much imagery surrounding Noelle represents sacrifice. How exactly this would happen we simply can't know, but the point is, Noelle must die to fulfill the prophecy and save the world. And with this information, our previous question of the night's motivations is far more obvious. Whoever they might be, they are likely a holiday, and likely know the prophecy. They want to save Noelle. But how? And more importantly, how does following the prophecy do anything to stop this at all? That requires one last bit of exposition. The prophecy might not be as solid as we think. We've been told and shown that it can't change, but one of its biggest faults is its vagueness. Let's take the girl, for example. No name is stated. And we also know that the imagery on these things isn't super reliable, as we see with the archaic representation of Ralsei. The girl could really be anyone. Nothing in the prophecy states it has to be anyone specific, simply that it has to be a girl, who goes through all the steps as prophesized. What if the knight plans on saving Noelle by forcing Susie into her role? I mean, look at it this way. A new girl moves into hometown, she's a bully and doesn't have any friends, her home life seems to be bad, and she's likely to have parents who wouldn't notice if she disappeared. She's the perfect scapegoat for a plan exactly like this. Now that she's become the girl, she's the one by Kris's side. She's the one who dies to save the world. And with this revelation, we can finally touch on the third question we posed at the very start of this video. Kris is clearly part of this plan, and at first it wouldn't make sense why they would be on board. They didn't know Susie at the time, and were even a frequent victim of hers. To them, if it means saving their childhood best friend Noelle, it was an easy choice. And so they helped the knight. But things take a bad turn, because they start liking Susie. Every chapter they grow closer to her, and by chapter 5, you wouldn't be crazy to think that they even have feelings for her. Maybe some scenes come to mind now, mainly the end of chapter 4. Susie outside Kris's window, Kris looking out and going to climb down to her, and the phone telling them, "Don't forget, you promised." Kris is starting to waver. The guilt is all over them. Every time we see them working with the knight, or Carol, they stutter and pause. "You promised" is most likely Carol, who clearly is in on the plan and would absolutely want to protect her daughter, reminding Kris that it's too late to back out now. They promised to save Noelle, long before they ever got to know Susie. and that's as much as I'm gonna script. I know the video's like 5 minutes long, but I've still got a lot more to yap about, obviously. I mean, the most important thing, I guess, would be the weird route, because for me, another big piece of the puzzle here that I just didn't really want to script for or edit for. I might throw some weird route clips on the screen. I don't know. Weird route makes a lot of sense now. Like, instead of just being, you know, for the fun of it, instead of just hurting Noelle and your friends, because why not, I guess, it becomes about saving Susie, right? It becomes... I don't really know if the route's going to end with you putting Noelle back in her position. You could argue that the weird route is making Noelle be the sacrifice again, like it was originally intended. You could also argue that it's just trying to save both Noelle and Susie, and the consequence is, you know, hurting Noelle and your friends, and Kris as well. That's a very Toby thing to do, is what I think. It's a very Toby thing to do, to like be like, oh, if you want to save Susie, then, you know, do this. How far are you willing to go? Another big part of that is that you can only really figure out the weird route through, well, the intended way to figure out the weird route is through, like, sword route and other things. Like, there's hints towards it all throughout the game. It feels like something you're only supposed to find, like, by the end of the game, even after you've beaten the game, basically, right? So it's supposed to be a secret, obviously, even though we all found it immediately, because duh. And the reason that matters is because it would make sense if the ending of the game had Susie sacrificing herself because the knight succeeded, whoever the knight may be. It would make sense as Des would want to protect Noelle. It would make sense as Carol. You know, I've seen a few Carol knight theories, and again, seems like a red herring, but also makes a lot of sense in this theory. Rudy kind of makes sense if you ignore him being sick. Again, there's a bunch of theories over there. Point is, I'm yapping. This is why I have scripts. Yeah, a weird route would be about protecting Susie, and it would make sense that you'd beat the game and see Susie die, and then go back and be like, is there another ending? Is there a way I can stop this? And you find an ending, it's just a very unfortunate one. It's just a very, you know, harmful one. But hey, anything for Susie, right? What else is there to say about this? Yeah, another thing that I didn't get to mention in the video that I feel like is pretty important is the fact that Susie does get mentioned in the prophecy. I kind of pretend like Susie doesn't get mentioned at all, and she's just replacing the girl. Susie is mentioned in the prophecy, and it has to be her because the imagery shown is the Root Buster, and that has to be Susie, because there's no way Noelle would be represented by a Root Buster image. I'm going to put the prophecy up on screen, probably. This can still make sense in the theory. This doesn't destroy the theory. Instead, this would kind of push for the idea that Susie is an enemy, right? We've already been told Susie is the dragon, right? As Gerson says. This still makes sense if we think then of Susie as a villain, right? That she was intended to be a villain of the prophecy, or some kind of like roadblock in the prophecy, but has now kind of been switcherooed with Noelle, which also opens up for a Noelle boss fight? Maybe. Assuming the prophecy is not allowed to change, then maybe by swapping Susie to be the girl, Noelle has to naturally fit Susie's role, which would be the dragon, or, you know, the boss fight, or the roadblock. Which also could connect to the fact that Noelle finds out about this. Maybe Noelle finds out about Susie having to die to save the world, and she, being herself, of course, once again tries to stop us. You know, she likes Susie and is suicidal, to put it bluntly. She'd definitely want to be a sacrifice, as fucked up as that sounds. She'd be against that if she found out. Again, this is all yappage. If I'd scripted this, it would have been a lot more thorough and, you know, researched, but I'm just going to add this onto the end of the video because I feel it's important. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'd love to talk about, but I feel like it's too much bonus. It's too much wish-wash, little evidence, mostly metaphorical and emotional storytelling. But yeah, at the end of the day, thanks for watching my, like, 6-minute theory at most. It's probably going to be a lot longer with all the yapping here. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that this feels thematically satisfying to you. The main reason I love this theory so much isn't just the evidence, the logical evidence, but the thematic themes. And if you take the time to think about it, I hope you guys find as many, like, interesting connections and character developments with this plotline, especially with Kris and the whole, you know, feeling bad about it and realizing, shit, I like Susie. I didn't realize she was such a good person, and now I've already signed up to kill her, right? I'm yapping too much. Bye.